Oh, Ichiro cannot die. You made a video called Dump Your Girlfriend for God question mark. And this is actually something that I've been thinking about last a while with South Dakota Girl and Buddhist Illuminati. You know, this whole idea of can believers and non-believers get along and have a relationship? And this isn't quite so straightforward as it seems. It's something that I think can work, but it requires both sides to really work together. Because one of the big issues here is that for the more fundamentalist Christians, there's this whole idea of don't be yoked with the unbeliever. It's something that I grew up on, something that I was taught. You know, even if you're not a non-believer, you know, one of the big things that is important for people to understand when getting married is don't go into a marriage expecting to change someone or having them change. You know, if you're a non-believer and you're getting married to a believer, don't expect that believer to become a non-believer necessarily, and vice versa. And, you know, it can cause problems. I'm not saying it can't happen. I think it very well can work out. I'd love to see it work out, but the problem is the more fundamentalist someone gets, the more they are less willing to listen. Like if they're a creationist and you're an atheist, accepts evolution, you know, when and if children happen, you got the problem of, you know, can children, you know, would a children be taught evolution or creationism, and this will create strife in the family if it's not worked out beforehand. You know, for less fundamentalists, it's not a big problem. But from the story you say, I hate to say this, I think she's better off without him. If he's going to dump her because she's a non-believer, and, you know, it's going to affect his walk with his God, then other problems would have come up. You know, if that is the kind of thing that kind of believer he is, chances are there would have been bigger problems down the road about, you know, going to church, him trying to convert her, her trying to deconvert him. You know, I don't know if she would have done it, but chances are I can almost see a lot of problems down the road. They might even work it out, but when you get to that kind of indoctrination, it's not really that likely. You know, like I was saying, growing up, I was always taught don't be yoked to the unbeliever. And this entire idea that, you know, even just being friends with unbelievers will wear off on you. You know, their bad habits, their drug use, their drinking, their sex, their Dungeons and Dragons, whatever. You know, all these things you spend with them isn't focusing on God. And that's obviously, for many Christians, a bad thing. No, not for all, but for the more fundamentalists, yes. And, you know, you see this on YouTube, you know, like Stigma Dane and others are criticized for hanging out with not believers, you know, because they're consorting with the enemy almost. And this is the same thing. And imagine how bad it can be if it's a couple, you know. If they get married, there's going to be pressure for them to both join the church. And this will cause problems. You know, it's a weird thing. If you weren't raised by it, you might not understand it. You know, I've escaped now and I understand it, but it really bothers me, you know, this mentality. And, you know, like I said, I think she's better off without him, but I do feel for her that if she's lost a man she liked, you know, but what could have happened down the road? You know, I'd like to hear your thoughts on this. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Does this sort of help you understand a bit about the situation? I'd also like to know how she does. Keep us updated. I'd like to know if anything comes of all this.